Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shute Out. We are 7 rounds into the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield, and Tom Coolican, the weather has arrived. It's forced some changes, including to the match of the round, and certainly forced some changes to how teams have played. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. Geez, it was a wet and sodden weekend for round 7, but round 8, more of the same, and people ducking for cover and running for the AstroTurf, it would seem.
Big change from our perspective. We've done a bit of filming, but that's changed trajectories a little bit because the match of the round is now Eastwood hosting Warringah at TG Millner. Gordon versus Norths. The Battle of the North Baxter Mortlock Cup has been moved to Woollahra Oval on Saturday evening. We will get to those previews shortly. But Coolo, round 7. It was wet in every fixture except up in the Hunter, and our match of the round on 9 Gem and 9 now. Northern Suburbs versus Souths at North Sydney Oval, a clash that Souths were in for the entire 80 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Since they've moved the drop-in pitch at North Sydney Oval, the Oval usually handles the wet quite well, except when it starts absolutely pissing down, which is what happened sort of 15 minutes after kickoff. Sifra Moni crashed over early on. I thought that was the sign of the floodgates opening up. But it wasn't to be. South did a great job of staying in the game. For a lovely try there from Josh Barr, crashing over in the 28th minute, making it 14-0. Unfortunately, Seamus Smith and Matt Ryan just couldn't capitalise on that go forward that Barr was generating. South stayed in the fight. It was a brilliant try just on half-time, 14-7. I think it was Fuka that crashed over. Kept South in the game and gave us confidence going into the sheds. Some key substitutions around that 50th minute mark. Willoughby, Stevens, McKenzie and Douglas off the bench. They really sparked the second half comeback. I tried to Lewis Young, and then against the run of play off a dominant scrum, Wilcox crashed over. Norths were up by 7. Lindsay Stevens then countered, and it looks like with 4 minutes to go that it was going to be a draw, which nobody enjoys. Like kissing your sister is what the players say, regards to a draw. But I think McIntosh broke Rebels' hearts. An impressive penalty goal on the bell to give a win for Northern Suburbs. A desperately needed 4 points. They'll take that and probably forget everything else. It was an ugly win.
Tough one for Souths. But Easts 29, Western Sydney 2, Blues 22. Just want to make a quick mention. Easts now 7-0, but also unbeaten across all 4 grades. That is remarkable. But at Woollahra in the Shute Shield, the two Blues started brightly. They were physical everywhere, attacked with speed. Good hands. First try to Smiler Arkeong off a nice grubber through. The fitness and pace connectivity continues to build for Wests in attack, but also defence. East kicked well, stayed positive. George Gibson had levelled it up. It was a great battle at 13 between Serpentine and Tetamaki. Then Tetamaki copped a tough yellow. East scored twice in that period to lead 19-10. Braden Stewart remains terrifying, and Serpentine's been huge for East. Rian Lowry active and a try to make it 24-10 late in the first half. Hit the double longhorns too, Rian Lowry, so he is a force of nature. Boxer and co-driving the standards and shape for East. 3 more tries for the day. West were good, determined. They had flashes, a couple of powerful late tries, but not clinical enough at Woollahra on the familiar surface for Easts, and Easts remain unbeaten. University 30 against Gordon 22. Big clash.
Yeah, big night for University. Won 3 out of 4 grades, and they also won first Colts. It's the kind of games and momentum you need, at this stage in the season. The Gordon were in control in the first half. They looked sort of pretty dominant. It was a good try from Stoltz to set the tone. Gordon played in this pod shape where they keep their width and often like to attack on the edges with their big ball carrying back rowers. I think Schmood and Fowler at 9-10, that combination is probably the pick of the litter for University. They've trialled with a lot of different combinations there, but he added speed, he added spark, and no better example when Schmood crashed over, early on after a lovely bit of footwork from Ripley, the old 1-2 play. That was excellent. Uni were in control then, but a brilliant bit of individual play on the 30th minute from Lockie Alberts, the old chip and chase. That was just genuine X factor. There's no other way of putting it. University came out swinging. It was a really, really good try from Talatiana. Mangelsdorf, Darcy Breen, Declan Moore, they were all outstanding. 19-17, 20 minutes to go. We've seen Uni lose those games to Manly, to Hunter, to Ramwick. But I think the speed of Fowler and Sharples, who also unleashed Austin Durbridge off the bench, University iced this game. It was an excellent kick from Curtis after the bell. Declan Moore also crashing over. I talked about how good he was. The students, that's a massive win for them in first grade and for the club on a dominant Saturday night for the students.
Hunter Wildfires 29, West Harbour 19. Beautiful conditions in Newcastle. A little bit muddy in patches, but Hunter's forwards are going nicely. They led 5-0. West Harbour continuing to find some nice cohesion with Malelli at 10, McCooler at 12, Fui in the centres. They helped the Pirates make it 7-5 on 10 minutes, then pure pace for the Pirates second with Matt Whelan running into space off broken play. A few issues with ball control from both. Big for the forwards again for Hunter. Halftime. After halftime, Kinney scored. They just continued to bash away. Wests were up 19-10 off McCooler's try. Nice reward for him and his efforts. And then 3 successive tries helped Hunter get the win. One to Veni Vaha out wide, and then the forwards really just kept smashing away. Hunter in the top 6. Congrats to TJ Talaleva, who's been rewarded for his impressive start with the call-up to the Australian under-20s. We know how well the Talalevas have been doing up there in Hunter. But again, West's showing plenty. Hunter just a bit too strong at home. Coolo Manly, 21. Big win for them against Eastwood, 17.
Massive win for the Marlins, back against the wall after a tough loss last week. Another one of the sides also that probably benefited from the wet. Of all the ovals, I'd say Manly and Chatswood Oval, the two that handle it the worst because of the obvious cricket pitch, bang smack in the middle of the oval. I think both sides forgot how wet it was in the first 15 minutes. Daly Bird scampering down the sideline, sort of trying to see it on a 25-degree day. Dig-Eye then sort of crashed over, and the next 30 minutes was just good old-fashioned trench warfare. It was French mud, French football within the 15s, just physical stuff. The Eastwood scrum was probably the biggest trump card they had all game. I thought their front row was just outstanding. Goddard, Stewart and Sheldon, that tight head hooker, tight head lock pod was just brilliant. They were pivotal in just about every single point that was scored, for the Woodies there. Roderick Evans, off the back of another dominant scrum penalty, 5 metres in, 47 metres out. That's one of the kicks of the season under a huge amount of pressure. 17-7 with 20 minutes to go. You thought Eastwood were home and hosed. Not to be. Eastwood's pack really started to fatigue. A lot of their forwards are having to go 80 minutes. The Marlins, on the other hand, fresh legs came on at really smart, staggered moments. It was brilliant coaching from Harry Feely and Sam Lane. And then probably the try of the season, Joe Dillon, 5 metres out, takes a quick tap, 74th minute. He wasn't going to be denied there. Just genuine competitiveness from their fly half. We've seen him all season. That for me was just about the ballsiest thing I've seen from a fly half in the Shute Shield competition this season. Massive win to the Marlins.
Warringah 22, Randwick 21. A great clash at Rat Park for the full 80. Brutal opening, lots of big shots, fatigue building early. Naisarani and Ballinger combined for the opening try for Randwick. Lovely answer from Warringah in similar style with Franz and Smith combining. Luke Tucker is starting to find his feet in the Shute Shield. Another great bit of depth for Warringah. Randwick were rolling though. The forwards working and winning with hard work, physical in the carry. They led 21-10 at half-time. Another deficit for Warringah to face. Ballinger continued to do some lovely things around the park. He was important against the Barnabases. Randwick had lots of opportunities to score after the break. Could have been 26-10. A couple of missed pieces of execution. Jaden Christian, big impact off the bench. Fepulei, Paramore and Naya as well. Rats are just ready to put the foot down at any moment. The Barnabases are mobile. Wes Thomas, a big engine. Maul try, 55 minutes. It was 15-21. Naisarani goes off with a hamstring injury. Joel Ellis returns, but a yellow to Mitch Short, and the Rats lift again. Their scrum was incredible down the stretch. Christian dives near the post, scores. More scrum penalties. They make it 22-21 with the conversion. Hendren missed a gettable penalty in the 71st minute. He played his guts out, though. It wasn't a gimme, but it was gettable. There is a lot to like about how Randwick played this one out against Warringah in tough conditions as it was around the grounds. But the Rats just scrapped well. Their scrums immense. Barnabases and Franz relentless on both sides of the ball. Kill and Whitman great too. Another big win for Warringah. Character building. But the competition is getting closer, that's for sure. Randwick, you'd imagine, will take a lot out of that. Across round 7, the wet weather was big. It's forecast to play a bit of a part, even though it might be clearing in round 8, Coolo. But how big is that change for sides? And did anything stand out for you, given the conditions that we often only see for portions of the season?
Well, it's the first time we've had a wet track this season, and players haven't trained or played in those conditions, probably as a unit, as a collective, really all season. So it was really interesting watching the different sides adjust. And obviously you've got a contrast. You've got Eastern Suburbs, which isn't affected at all. It's on the Astro. And then you've got Manly Oval, which is an absolute bog pit. You also got to remember that there are the clubs that can train, the clubs that can't. Randwick have Latham Park, the Astro, they can train. Eastern Suburbs, they can train on the AstroTurf. Teams like City University will be off feet most of this week. They'll be doing wrestling. They'll be doing heels. Gordon will probably be the same. Narrenburg Park's closed at the moment. So, it's a real challenge for teams to adjust off the field during the week and also on the field as well. And I thought some teams played better the conditions than others. And we look at Manly and the ability of their bench, which they utilised really well in the last 20 minutes. That was the difference. City University, exactly the same thing. At a really, really bog pit of a City University number 2 oval. That last 20 minutes, that's where that game was won. That's 2 games that won in the last 20 minutes by the bench and by the conditions and by the coaching decisions. So, look, it's going to be interesting this week again, and it's going to be interesting whether or not teams learnt from last week.
Depth is something we touched on, and we will chat about this throughout the next month, no doubt. But last round of Super Rugby's regular season, and it's a fight for some players to put their hand up this weekend and show that they should be holding their spot.
Absolutely. It's a week off after this. The Waratah players are coming back. There's going to be winners and losers, from the different clubs with players coming back. Look at some of the clubs who are getting a lot of players back. Eastern Suburbs are getting Jack Bowen, Teddy Wilson, Charlie Gamble, to name a few, Angus Scott Young as well. Randwick. I mean, you look at Tristan Riley, Andrew Kellaway, Lawson Crichton. And we're talking about players that probably aren't going to go up to the Wallaby squad and will be sent back to Shute Shield to do their hard yards. Players in those positions in those clubs right now would have at the back of their mind, am I playing second grade this week? Does it matter how I play this week? We're only human, and that's what players will be thinking. We also know coaches will be sitting there going, well, I've got some tough conversations to have next week, some tough decisions to have. Nothing worse than the Tuesday phone call between 12 and 4 o'clock. You're sitting there waiting for that call. That's on a coach's mind. That's on players' mind. So it's a good thing, but it also could be a challenging thing you've got to navigate with combinations, cohesions, and tough conversations. These guys have jobs, but they're human at the end of the day. So it's going to be something that we talk about and see, and we'll definitely have to acclimatise to as those combinations and those cohesions and those players come back. They'll be clunky at first, but they'll have a big impact come finals time.
Our match of the round in round 8 of the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield is Eastwood hosting Warringah, and joining us this week is one of the stars of Eastwood's campaign in 2026. Jhy Legg joins us. Jhy, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Building nicely for the season. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Jhy, 17 points to 21 at Manly on a wet old afternoon. Conditions were tough. The cricket pitch played its part as well. But what do you take out of that performance, knowing that you were right there again against a very resurgent Manly side?
Yeah, look, I guess it's just that 80-minute performance that you talk about. We were good for 70 minutes probably of that game, and then just let it slip in that last 10 minutes. We were 17-7 before the 70-minute mark hit. And then, I think just Manly ended up getting some momentum, and we let it slip away, which we were quite disappointed about. But I think the positive thing is that was, we look at the game, we had a lot of positives out of it. It was just that last 10 minutes just killed us, and we weren't allowed to, get the result that we wanted.
Second year at the club for you at Eastwood. What have you found different this year with Anthony Griffin coming in? There's a really nice feel from what we've seen from the outside looking in terms of a really nice mix of youth and emerging talent, but some good experience mixed in. But what have you found different this year compared to last?
I think the group's just grown into what Hook wants to provide as a playing group. He's put a good belief into the group, and he's just sort of allowing players to lead and, be themselves and be comfortable as a team. I think he's a real good people manager. Sorry. He understands the player before the rugby player, which is really good because it's sort of connected a group as a whole. I think we're building quite nicely leading into round 8 and the season to go on. It's a long season, so I think we've had a good start, but it could have been better, could have been worse. So, yeah.
You've come across from Perth, where you were a part of the Western Force Academy and Australian under-20s pathways. How have you found that experience from being from the West and going through those academies and pathways processes, and how sort of are you in touch with the force still, and where are you at with sort of your rugby journey?
Yeah, so I obviously was pretty lucky to get into the under-20s and grow through the pathways growing up in Perth, and did majority of the Western Force lead up stuff. Yeah, no, it's totally helped me. It's grown me to the player I am today and stuff like that. As if with the not in much contact at the Force at the moment, but obviously just got to let the footy do the talking, and hopefully an opportunity arises, which would be nice. But yeah, just got to keep my head down, get back into that system that I'd like to be in. Obviously, came over here for an opportunity to play in a great comp like Shute Shield is, to get my name back out there. Unfortunately, had a season off in 24, so 25 was a big year, and hopefully to carry that momentum over into this year and get an opportunity. Hopefully, that's the main goal.
You started the year in great try-scoring form, scoring in every match that you were playing to begin the campaign. But it's that hard-nosed edge that I think a lot of people are excited about from an Eastwood perspective, and in that second row with Angus and Xavier and a few of the other players, it seems that that's the sort of rugby that you guys love playing. How would you describe your style of rugby, and what are you hoping to show everyone watching in 2026?
Oh, I'm quite a big dude in height wise, but I take my pride in like a lot of work rate. Like I want to be everywhere. I want to be an option. I want to be in and around the dirty work. I'm actually pretty surprised I've got over the try line 3 times this year, but sometimes you just get lucky and flop over the try line. But I'll take that as a 50-meter. It's just a try. I reckon those flop over tries, but I'm big for my set piece. Take a lot of pride in that, and then just my work rate I think puts me in the edge, and puts me in the right positions to have those dominant carries, dominant tackles, and stuff like that. But yeah.
TG Millner looks in terrific shape, but started the year beautifully. We spoke with your scrum half earlier in the year. He said it's the best he's ever seen it, and he's come through Colts there. How are you expecting that home ground advantage to help you against Warringah this weekend?
Oh, it's big. Like we've understood the what's coming. Rats are on a bit of a hot streak at the moment. They haven't lost a game yet. Respectfully, them and East are the best teams in the competition right now. But the homegrown advantage is massive for us. So like, the boys stayed back from, all the way from Colts to first grade, especially then at Super Saturday this weekend. So we're quite excited to get, the boys staying back, even though if it's hopefully the conditions are not going to be too bucketing down. But TG's, since I've been here, it's been a bit of a fortress for us. We're able to dig deep, and especially when the boys get back behind us and stuff like that, it just gives us another arm and a leg to, get over, and, it's showed some results, especially that Randwick game coming back in the last, I think it was 5 minutes, just the support that this club provides for our grades and stuff like that is awesome.
Warringah's forward pack has been immense. Even off the bench late against Randwick on the weekend, their scrum was huge. So no doubt that's a platform that you guys are excited to set. But who are some of those players within the forward pack you love lining up against and lining up with, and love going out onto the field with? I
think the big man Will Goddard at the moment. He's a scrummager and a half. I've got to give his flowers. I don't think I've met anyone that, just likes watching scrums and loves it. He's a big dark art in the scrumming era. As a lock, it's pretty nice to push behind him because I don't really feel like I'm doing much, and it shows. I think we've, got 100% strike weight out of our scrum this year so far. So, it's got to be Will Goddard. He's an absolute weapon at scrum time.
And then that back line, I imagine, being able to wax in and around it. There's pure pace. Isaac Crow's been in great form. Lockie Shelley's warming into things. How exciting is it when you start to see those guys get into full gear?
Oh, like you said, like the Crow Star, the Shellsman, and even the wee man, the Irish bulldog. Those guys are electric. Like you sort of look up and you see them do what they do, and you sort of go, I don't know how you did it, but you've done it, sort of thing. And you sort of pinch yourself and go, oh, I wish I could do that, especially as a second rower sometimes. But no, they're electric. Like they're probably the rock for our attacking footy at the moment. Like the stuff they create for us and the space they create for us is quite so real. So yeah, they're very important to our attacking footy when they're especially on.
Bit of a cult figure developing there with Dylan Nelson, isn't there? The hair and the he gets fired up pretty quickly.
Oh, he loves a bit of contact, the little wee man. Yeah, I don't think I've seen a winger run towards contact as much as he does. So it's quite exciting.
Yeah, and then this weekend against Warringah, 9 Gem, 9 now, 3:10 kickoff. What's your advice to anyone in the local area? The forecast is improving through Saturday, and another chance for the fans to get out to TG Millner this year.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we'd like as much people to come down. Obviously, like you said, it's on 9 Gem and 9 now, so it's quite a good opportunity to, broadcast our game on the live tally. But also, we've got Matt Gonzalez, our Olympian. He's celebrating his 150th game this weekend. So, he's been at the club for quite a while now. So if you can't get down, obviously tune into 9 now, Stan Sports, 9 Gem. But if you can, you're going to be celebrating a great man of the Eastwood Club. To play 150 games is quite so real. And I think majority of them are first grade games, so a bit of longevity in the old legs off Matty.
A lot to get behind, and a huge clash on the park. Eastwood hosting Warringah, and Jhy Legg, genuinely one of the stars emerging in front of our eyes in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield this year. We've loved seeing what you've done and can't wait to see you take the field again on Saturday.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Our guest this week on The Rest Room made his Shute Shield debut in 2023 and has been a mainstay within the competition since then. John McCarthy joins us. John, how are you?
G'day, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well, and I've been looking forward to this all week. So, yeah.
Us too, and a delightful start for us to hear that too.
It's a highlight.
Exactly. John, how have you enjoyed the start to the season? We're 7 rounds in, we're almost at the bye. How have you enjoyed the start to the campaign?
Mate, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a real delight so far. I think we've had some great performances from both clubs and referees. It's great to see some new characters coming in from a playing perspective and some referee perspectives as well. So great to see everyone developing and, putting in some really good performances. So, yeah.
Refereing's pretty close to the family. At what point did you know you were going to be a match official of some sort?
Oh, mate, look, I like you said, it is pretty close. I went to most weeks with my old man, who was a Shute Shield referee. Got close to 140 odd Shute Shield games. So I guess you could say I was destined to get into it. But no, I didn't really pick up the whistle until I was about 19 or 20. So I guess from that perspective, early 20s was when I really thought, yeah, let's give this a good hot crack and take it as far as we can go. And here we are.
As a fellow survivor, being the son of a referee as well, have you ever been chased to the car by an angry fourth grader off the back of some questionable decisions?
Not yet. I'm yet to tick that off my bucket list. There's still time to come, but yeah, hopefully we can avoid any close calls like that in the future. That'd be great.
You refereed Warringah versus City University, in round one, in a game that probably surprised a lot of us, both in the sense that City University were a little bit off the pace. They've obviously come good with a good win last week, but Warringah, the defending premiers. What was your take on round one and the contrast between the two sides?
Yeah, look, it was a great appointment for me personally. To get that round one straight off the bat was awesome. I was looking forward to that as soon as I got the appointment, and I don't think the game disappointed at all. Warringah looked, as we all know, the well-drilled club that they are. They played like a team that had just won the premiership the year before. And look, no disservice to Uni. I think they played very, very well in round one, all things considered, with a new coach, new staff, new players, lots of new guys coming into the starting lineup. I think it just, Warringah showed their experience on the day. And I think there are some really good signs coming out of Uni. And I think if you look at the ladder, as you said, we're close to that bye, that third of the way through the comp. They're starting to look really, really good. So I think it's onwards and upwards for Uni from here.
Completely agree. You talked about, use the word appointments, and we've also heard from some of the other referees, the term pods. Can you give us a bit of insight into the selection process, how it works week in, week out, how decisions are made between referees being selected and then perhaps put as assistants, on that weekly basis?
Yeah, well, look, a couple of your other guests, other referees that you've had on the pod so far, it's very true what they say. There's about 15 to 16, 17 odd referees, and unfortunately only 6 games each week for first grade. So if you do the maths, someone's got to miss out each week, unfortunately, which is great for the competitiveness of all the referees. We all want to do Shute Shield week in, week out. And I think it's great. The camaraderie between all the referees is fantastic, and we're all really supportive of each other. And I think I speak on behalf of the rest of the referee fraternity when I say, look, it doesn't really matter if you are in the middle or not for first grade. If my job is to do as well as I can in second grade and then make whoever is in the middle look as good as they possibly can be for first grade, then I think that's my main job. And I really enjoy running touch. I think it's a great reminder of the journey that you take to get in the middle. It's not something that we take for granted. And I've really enjoyed the season so far, and I know the rest of the referees have taken to the season well as well.
John, love getting an insight into how the referees sort of approach the game. And I think, as we can hear from some of that, very few people know the game as well as the referees who we're blessed to have in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. Thanks so much for joining us on the Rest Room and the Shootout. And we'll look forward to catching up again soon.
Thanks for having me, guys. All the best with the rest of the pod, and enjoy the rest of the season. Cheers.
Round 8 in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield, and our match of the round on 9 Gem and 9 Now is Eastwood hosting Warringah, Gordon hosting Norths on Saturday evening out at Woollahra Oval, which we will chat about soon, the change because of Chatswood Oval and all of the rain. So Gordon's big week continues off the back of the Mary Rossi travel luncheon on Friday. They go to Woollahra on Saturday evening. But coolo, Eastwood against Warringah at TG Millner, a big occasion for Eastwood. Warringah looking to bounce back. Remarkable to say it because they're still 7-0, but sides have been hunting them.
Yeah, absolutely. Warringah found themselves behind at half-time 2 weeks in a row now, and they've found a way to win. And a lot of that probably comes down to the management of Josh Holmes, of his players, and the ability to utilise the bench. We've seen some changes there. No Thompson, who you suspect will come off the bench. McGill comes in with one of the Barnabases going on the bench, and Jaden Christian comes in for Bo Abra to start as well. So it's the luxury that Josh Holmes has, the ability to rest players and also to limit players to 60 minutes at times, which can be a big difference for your recovery during the week. Eastwood, on the other hand, it's the same pack. A little bit of a rejig between second rowers and back rowers, but Legg, Digger, Griffin, Parsons, Sheldon, the same names, and they're going 80 minutes. A lot of them, for 5-6 weeks now. So, it's starting to take its toll. They'll be looking for the bye. They will feel hard done by that loss to Manly last week. They're in the game for 74 minutes. Just couldn't come away with the chocolates there. Gonzalez in his 150th game. And an assistant comes in at 10 for Broderick Evans, which is an interesting substitution there. It's never good when you see changes at 9 and 10 mid-season, but we've seen Goddard shifted to the bench, Gonzalez starting, and now a change at 10 as well. Griffin just experimenting with his playmakers. I think the Rats will be too good. They'll get it done. It'll be fresh legs. That will be the difference in that last 20 minutes. Eastwood will go toe-to-toe, but Warringah will be too good. I think Eastwood will do the bye desperately.
Randwick versus West Harbour at Coogee. It's a big game for both. Randwick in 9th, West Harbour in 12th. The Pirates are starting to find their shape and groove in the back line, and the forwards got a reminder against Hunter of the relentlessness that they need, but also the relentlessness that they had showed earlier in the season on so many levels. Randwick coming off that really tight win against Warringah, tight loss, against Warringah. So they'll be fired up, but the forward pack was immense. Ellison Ballinger, a very interesting 1-2 punch at 6 and 7. Naisarani's fit to play after coming off with that hamstring issue. Mitch Short and James Hendren can form an elite combination at 9-10. So very interesting stuff. And then Felix Tiranui at fullback for Randwick. The lineage continues at the Galloping Greens. It'll be fascinating to see him. He's worked really hard to get this opportunity, starting at fullback for Randwick on Saturday. Tau Kaloamatangi comes in to partner Cam Orr in the front row for West Harbour. So that forward pack needs to be enormous for West Harbour. Hunter Hannaford's back at 10. They've got class, West Harbour. They've been in plenty of clashes. They pushed Warringah a few weeks ago. Randwick, though, I think they've really got a spirit about them at the moment and should beat West Harbour at home in Coogee. And then Coolio University versus Easts at Uni.
Yeah, massive win for Sydney University last week, 3 out of 4 grades getting up and first Colts 2 on a Saturday night in a bog pit. I think it was a massive win for their season and for their momentum. We saw some of the experiments of Joe Mangelsdorf at 7. That worked. But the back row combined with Covey and Talatiana as well. They were big, they were physical, they were abrasive, but it was Joey Fowler and Schmood. That's the combination that's working for Uni at the moment. It gave him fast football. It gave him front football. Really impressed with Joey Fowler's ability to find grass and space as well. And I also thought when Sharples came on with 20 minutes to go, and Uni have lost 3 games, in tight fashions, Hunter Wildfires, Manly and Randwick, by less than 7 points, in those dying 20 minutes. And I think Sharples just added a bit of speed, as did Austin Durbridge, and everyone lifted around him. And it was a big win for Uni last week. East, 7 from 7, what's not to like? They'll have one eye on this week, one eye on the bye. We've got a lot of good players coming back. Sid Harvey, Jack Bowen, Teddy Wilson, Charlie Gamble. I'm sure the players in first grade will have one eye on those players as well, as the coaches will too. Some tough conversations to be had, for the Eastern Suburbs Club. It's the benefit of players coming back. I think University might surprise East here, particularly on the bog pit. It'll be a tight one. If the Uni Mall gets rolling, I think the students will be too good, but it's going to be close, Will.
South's hosting Manly at 4, 10th versus 11th, but both sides with plenty of almost so far as well. Manly's coming off that nice tight win in horrible conditions at Manly against Eastwood, and Souths were great against Northern Suburbs as far as the fight and the pluck and the determination went. Lewis Young starts after Oscar Freen picked up that injury. Mason Duke and Jake Douglas to start in the second row. Lindsay Stevens starts at 7, so an interesting move there as Mitieli Tuinaka-Vandra continues to do big things at the back. So the forward pack's going to need to be big for Souths. Fanueli and Neepkins, Radamite, Tavuki, Neepkins in the centres need to be good. And Souths might fancy their back line against Manly in terms of the size and physicality, but Manly with Dickens and Dillon's continual development in that 9-10 combination can set them up really well, and that forward pack was great against Eastwood for Manly. Their scrum has been great at times, so they need to match them up front, and you think if Manly turn up and play to their full capability and Dillon and Dickens can move them around the park, they should win, but South's definitely not out of it. They have been so close. The wins are coming for Souths, and at home, maybe this is their chance, but Manly probably go in as slight favourites. Coolo, the revised fixture, Gordon hosting Norths, it moves to Woollahra Oval. How do you see this one and that change?
Well, it's the second time in a row that the Gordon Highlanders have surrendered the home ground advantage. First we had Mudgee, and now we've got them retreating over to the AstroTurf at Woollahra Oval, BC's HQ. Look, I think the condition change will suit them, though. We know how they play. A couple of changes in the back line. No Connor Hickey and no Spinks. Brendan Quinn comes in for his 100th game, which is brilliant. And we've also got Oliver Arcus, 2 familiar names that have thrived in the Gordon Highlander jersey for quite a while. Also as well up front, Prezi Tafunga comes in, talking to Milan Basson during the week. I think there was a feeling that University dominated them more. He'll have a lot of punch there. We know what the Shoremen bring. I think if it wasn't for their scrum last week, they probably would have gone down versus very dominant Souths. Great that Blair Tuggy Fumiono is back as well this week. That's really exciting after what was a pretty scary and traumatic injury there, but it's only whiplash, so it's great that he's back and he's passed the fitness test. Michael McDonald comes back in for Seamus Smith. He's a massive in. I thought they lack speed, tempo, and direction, particularly at the halfback position last week. He's a massive in for them as well. It's going to be a really tight one here, but I think probably on the AstroTurf, I think Gordon are going to be too good. Let's keep an eye, though, on Sifa Amoni. He's been brewing all season. Let's see if he steps up. He knows that Appleseed Runaway is coming back to the Shute Shield next week, so big game for him.
Western Sydney Two Blues hosting Hunter, 5th versus 7th. That continues a great week of important fixtures in this mid-season period. Both can really keep pace with the top view with a win here. The Two Blues were really good against East, and if that was played anywhere but Woollahra, you'd think that they had every chance of pinching that one. And it's a similar battle against a mobile and skillful forward pack that Hunter brings. Better continuity maybe in the back line for Western Sydney Two Blues. Yona, the two Visanias, Tetamaki, Nordstrom and Arkeong, they're lethal. They're really potent. They're finding their groove. Western Sydney Two Blues should be too strong at home against Hunter. Salvai, who was great last week, continues to partner Micah Ash Gillard. Kinney Barron, TJ Talaleva, congrats to him being called up to the Australian under-20s setup. They've got strike power, Hunter, and it is a fairly settled lineup that they're picking, but the trip out to Eric Tweedale, the Two Blues, potentially too strong. But this is the one for the Two Blues to show that they can muscle up and get it done against a pretty good Hunter side. So there's our previews for round 8. Cooler, the weather is here. The forecast is for a decent afternoon of weather, but the rain has been falling and it's forced a few changes. Chatswood Oval closed, Gordon move out, but we can't wait. This is what we love to see, certainly from the comfort of the grandstands or from the couch.
Absolutely. Glass of Shiraz in hand. I think Gordon will relish the AstroTurf over there at Woollahra Oval. It means you've got 4 hours of Shute Shield back-to-back on Saturday afternoon. What's not to love?
That's it. The match of the round on 9GM9 now. Eastwood hosting Warringah. All other games on Stan Sport. Enjoy round 8 of the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield.